Hello, everyone. It is Professor Lee here, and I am going to do a brief overview of this quick guide to numbers sheet that I made for you. So basically what this is an all-in-one cheat sheet for kind of different types of numbers and formulas that we will use in healthcare, but specifically in pharmacology and dosage calculations. So some parts to this that are included. We have Roman numerals. Obviously, Roman numerals go up above 1,000, but I just included the basics here. We also have the formula for dosage calculation. You have the, where did I go? You have the D over H times Q, as well as the breakdown of that formula, the desired dose with the on hand, and the quantity. You also have the steps here to convert, divide, multiply, label. You have an example over here that works through a problem for you here also. And so you're going to want to make sure that you are keeping this worksheet handy because this will help you in the coming chapters, okay? Over on the far right-hand side, we have conversions for military time. All the years that I worked in the hospital use military time, so it's not uncommon to use military time in a healthcare setting. And so if you have any confusion about what is what on the clock, on the standard clock, as far as military time goes, you can check here. It goes all the way around twice, so there's always the the AM, and then the PM right below that as well. So moving on from there, you have a big centerpiece, which is the metric conversions bouncy part. So sometimes you'll hear me refer to this sheet as the bouncy sheet, and this is why students ended up naming it the bouncy sheet because when I teach this in person, I give everybody this sheet and I have them physically bounce their decimals or their pencils along these little boxes to help them learn to convert. Now, when we work through metric conversions in chapter 4, it is there's a very good possibility that you'll start having flashbacks from like elementary school and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. We just have to multiply or divide by 10. And if you can do that, knock yourself out. If that's the easiest way for you to do it, you already know how to do it that way, go for it. Me, I'm a visual learner and I'm terrible at math. And I know that's probably not what I should be telling you because I'm getting ready to teach you math. I'm really good at this kind of math, really bad at other kinds. So I need visual representations of things in order for it to work and click in my mind. Like, I need something tangible so that I can see how it works. And that's kind of how this bouncy sheet or metric conversion portion was born. So I'm going to show you how this works. Now, you'll use this more in chapter 4 when we start to do conversions. But basically what will happen is oftentimes you will get let me get a different pen color here. You'll get a problem that says like the dose ordered is, if we look at this one up here, it's milligrams and milligrams, right? So those always have to match, but they don't always match sometimes. So sometimes the dose that we have on hand is, I don't like how thin that is. So sometimes what we have, the desired dose or what we want is 500 milligrams, but on hand we only have 1 gram. Okay, so we need to first make this label and this label match. Okay, and in order to do that, we are going to have to figure out how many milligrams. I always think, this is just my opinion, I always feel like it's easiest to convert to what you have on hand, okay? It's easier to work with what you got than what you don't have, right? We desire 500 milligrams, but we have on hand 1 gram. So we need to figure out how to match this 1 gram to milligrams, okay? So to do that, we are going to start here. We have 1 gram, And we need to figure out how many milligrams that is. And this is where the bouncy part comes in. If you read the directions that are on the sheet here, it tells you bounce the decimal which way, right? So since we are going from here over to here, we're going to bounce the decimal to the right, okay? And so we go back, we have 1 gram, and if it's a whole number, the decimal is always behind that, right? So it's 1.0 would be a whole number there. If it's less than a whole number, then the decimal will be elsewhere and there'll be a 0 in the front. Okay, so we've got 1 gram, and we need to figure out how many milligrams that is. And so we are going to bounce our decimal 1, 2, 3 times over to milligrams, okay? Which means that down here we're going to go 1, 2, 3. We're going to move, since we're moving our decimal, I'm going to take that out there, go back over here to my pen, and we are going to add our zeros there. And now our decimal is at the back. And so we're going to put a 0 there. Now you don't have to, but if you like to keep things straight, then you can. So 1 gram is the equivalent, when we clean all of this mess up here, to 1,000 milligrams, okay? So now what we can do is take this formula and convert it. So we have our D of 500 milligrams, and on hand, we have 1,000 milligrams, right? So then you can do the math because these terms match. All right, so that's kind of how this bouncy sheet works. It's really, honestly, I know it looks probably super convoluted and confusing, but it's not meant to be. It's just meant to give you a visualization of how to place your decimals. So if we were going the other way and we had 500 milligrams and we wanted to figure out how many grams that is, then we would be, let me get rid of all this. If we had 500 milligrams and we wanted to figure out how many grams that is, right? We would start here at milligrams and then bounce to the left because we're going this way. So we would bounce 1, 2, 3 times. And so in this instance, 500, the decimal's back here at the end, we would go 1, 2, whoop, my little thing autocorrects, 1, 2, 3, and put a 0 there because it's going to be less than a whole number. So 500 milligrams is actually equal to 0.500, or to simplify that, 0.5 grams. So you can do this calculation either way. It's completely up to you, whatever is easiest for you. And you don't even have to use this. Like I said, if you can multiply and divide by multiples of 10, knock yourself out and do that. But this is just meant to give you kind of a way to manually bounce your decimals.